Namaste, and welcome to the Awaken Living podcast with Nibodhi. This week's podcast might be difficult for some to hear, but it's very, very important. This week, we're talking about letting go. We're talking about forgiveness and what true compassionate freedom looks like. There's a really simple truth that we all feel deep inside of our body, in our blood, in our bones, in every cell. It's that disconnection wounds us. And reconnection, returning to ourself, to truth, to love, is really the only medicine that can restore wholeness to us. How do we get disconnected? It's when we feel hurt by a situation, by a person, by anything. And really, nowhere is this more tested than when we've been hurt, in our ability to feel disconnected and to reconnect to ourselves. I've never met a person on this planet who hasn't known betrayal, who hasn't known misunderstanding or rejection or hurt. And to be human is to know pain, and it's also to know love. But to awaken, to really awaken, to love, it's learning to move through that pain without losing ourselves, without collapsing in anger or bitterness. And also, very common is bypassing. So it's without bypassing the reality of what happened. And that's very hard to do sometimes because it's very easy to do and it's very hard to do. So how do we truly let go of someone who hurt us? And should we forgive them? Why would we even want to? These are questions I've asked myself so many times. And it's really important to question this entire concept of forgiveness and what it really means. Because in so many of the so-called spiritual traditions, forgiveness has been framed as a moral requirement to be spiritual. And it's unfortunately made into the responsibility of the hurt person. I myself have been told that I must forgive in order to be good, to be truly spiritual. I have to forgive. To rise above it all and to be spiritually evolved, it means that I forgive. And so for many people who have been hurt, myself included, the word forgiveness feels very close to something like, it's okay what you did. And it's not. And because to me, that feels like it's letting go means making an excuse for the harm that was done. And it's not an excuse for the harm. Harm is harm, clear and simple. A dharma is a dharma, clear and simple. And that's not going to change by forgiving. And the past can never be rewritten by forgiving or through spiritual bypass. Neither one of those are really the truth of what forgiveness is and what freedom is. In Vedic psychology, the question is not, should I forgive? The question is more, how do I free myself from these karmic knots that keep me tied to the person through this pain? Because we don't want to be in pain. We're trying to free ourselves from pain. Actually, every addiction on the planet is desperate cry to be free of pain. And holding on to hurt, it's not just an emotional pattern. It becomes a samskara, an impression in our subtle bodies that we carry with us, that if we don't consciously deal with through love and compassion, it stays with us lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And we're going to get similar lessons until we actually figure out how to deal with it. Because this pain, these samskaras, it binds to our prana. Really, it's disturbing the manas, the mind. It clouds our buddhi, the discernment, our ability to discern between real and unreal, truth and untruth. It blocks that like a dark storm cloud, and it keeps our heart constricted. When you're in pain, when you're angry at someone, how often is your heart bursting open with joy and radiance? But I want to be clear, letting go is never an endorsement for what happened, and letting go is more than anything, it's a return to our inner freedom. But forgiveness does not mean it's okay, like so many of the spiritual traditions have conditioned us to believe. It's about knowing the truth, because the pain is real, the pain is there. It's not pretending that we don't hurt, and we don't heal by pretending that it doesn't hurt. So the Vedic viewpoint on this is forgiveness is not meant to erase the event. It's really just meant to release the karmic charge associated with it. we don't forgive to excuse the past. We forgive to reclaim our own soul energy from that person or that situation. The purpose isn't to pretend that the hurt, the action, the pain didn't matter. It's really, more than anything, it's to stop letting it define us and control our whole life. Because, I mean, I know from myself that I've been hurt and I've been angry, and it becomes the obsession of my thoughts. I'm very excited to share with you Real Mushrooms, the sponsor of the Awakened Living podcast. I use their mushrooms every single day because they've genuinely changed my life. I trust them because they have 50 years of expertise and use 100% organic mushrooms, 0 grains, 0 fillers, which are found in most common mushroom products on the market. They use just real, organic, clinically tested mushrooms. Every morning, I use lion's mane to sharpen my thinking. I use cordyceps to give me the clean energy I need for the day. I use chaga to strengthen my immune system. And when stress hits, and it does, I use reishi to bring me back to center. With their products, you actually feel the difference. For the month of December, Real Mushrooms has offered all Awaken Living with Nibodhi podcast listeners 25% off their entire first order. So if you type in Awaken25 at checkout, you get 25% off your whole first order. You can find their link in the show notes or visit nibodhi.com/mushrooms to get yours today. For me, letting go is saying, I no longer allow that moment in time to shape who I am. I'm choosing freedom, not resentment anymore. I'm done with this person or this situation. I'm letting the past be the past. I no longer feel the need to retaliate. And that's been something that I've had a really hard time working with. That's been my biggest issue, is when someone's hurt me, to not make them hurt back or not to show them how they were wrong. And then another part of letting go is really not needing the other person to understand me or my position in order to be free of it. Basically, I just don't need to hold on to this anymore because it causes me so much pain and so much suffering. So I'm choosing my own peace and my own freedom over the pain and resentment. I'm choosing my own well-being, and I'm choosing my life, basically, over the wound, over the hurt, over the trauma. That's real compassion. That's truly what compassion is for ourselves. It's not soft, placating, people-pleasing compassion. It's fierce compassion because it's refusing to hold another being's consciousness inside of our own body and mind anymore. That's a major component of both emotional integrity and emotional intelligence. It's really what the yogis talk about when they're talking about ahimsa, nonviolence, living a way that's nonviolent. Essentially, it means to live in a way that avoids violence, one towards others, but more so internally towards ourselves. The harshness, the blame, the resentment, the rumination, these are all forms of inner violence. And even if we're having negative self-talk, that's a major form of inner violence. They seriously drain our vitality. They cause inflammation to the nervous system and wreck our immune system. So letting go of someone who's harmed us is truly the greatest act of self-care we can do. It's the greatest act of self-love. It's not permission for the harm to continue. It's permission for us to heal. And sometimes letting go involves recognizing a truth that's sometimes very difficult to see, but it's liberating. And it's really the ones who have caused us harm. This is a compassionate view. This is truly like a compassionate view. It's difficult to get to this, but it's necessary, I think. At least it was for me. The people who have caused us harm, they're very often plagued with their own internal emptiness, their own internal pain, filled with unresolved wounds and traumas. So the compassionate thing, if you really want to take it to another level, is imagine being them. Imagine if someone offered you $1 million. Would you take it if you had to be them? If you had to be that person with their pain and their traumas and their experience who's capable of inflicting pain and harm on another person? No, no one would. It's not worth it. Maybe being them is the punishment enough. Not that we wish harm on anyone. We don't. We want peace for everyone. But when we're living disconnected from empathy, warmth, and self-awareness, that itself is our own suffering. And suffering sucks. So if we are not able to get to empathy in ourselves for ourselves, first of all, and self-awareness for ourselves, and then for another, to have compassion for all sentient beings, that itself is a very, very tangible form of suffering. And everyone is doing their best to get out of suffering. Sometimes that's hurting another people when it's unconscious. Hurt people hurt people. And so people just don't want to hurt. Misery loves company. We've all heard that. So, we go about it in the wrong way. Awakening, self-awareness, living an awakened life is about dealing with our own pain first, because that's all we can really do. And then letting it go. But why is letting go so damn hard? It's the hardest thing to do. Most people, I think, will agree with me. And really, so much of our own difficulty comes from this deep longing to be seen, or at least to be understood. As St. Francis said, let me seek to understand versus to be understood. So, but we want that. We're not St. Francis. We're not enlightened yet. But we have this deep longing for, why can't they see what they did to me? Why can't they acknowledge it? Why aren't they taking accountability? Why don't they see the harm that they've done and the pain that I'm in? Why won't they even say sorry? We all want that. This is one of the reasons why it's so hard to let go. It comes from this longing, and it is a desire. It's a longing for the repair. It's a longing for restorative justice, for restoration of our connection. It's a longing for dharma, really. We want to return to rightness. We want to return to Pono. That's the Hawaiian word for the connectivity of the ecosystem and the environment and all people in it. But the truth is that not everyone has the capacity to do that. Not everyone has the capacity for self-reflection. Not everyone has the sattvic qualities of the mind required to see their own shadow. Or maybe they do a little bit, and the shadow is just so scary. It's scary until we step into it and acknowledge it and embrace it. Many people in the world, in this modern world, are dominated by rajas, and the negative qualities of rajas, the difficult challenges to rajas, is that is the ego, that is the defensiveness, that's the avoidance. Or even more so, if they're tamasic, the Vedic view of tamas in this scenario would be they're in total denial, or in numbness, or entitlement. In the modern psychology, we like to classify people as narcissists. No one's a narcissist. They have narcissistic behaviors or narcissistic personality disorders, but that came because they were wounded. Those are adaptations to consciousness. That's not consciousness itself, but that's a tamasic mind in that entitled, numb, denial state. And so that's what a narcissistic personality disorder person would have, those kind of experiences. But asking someone who is engulfed in rajas or tamas to be sattvic, to be calm, to be self-aware, to be accountable, or to be humble, that's our own insanity. That's like asking a mango tree to start making a coconut or to start making a banana. The mango tree is only going to make the mango. We need a coconut tree to make a coconut, or a banana tree to make a banana. The mango tree will never do other than what it's supposed to do. That's not its dharma. So asking someone who is engulfed in darkness to reflect light to us, that's our own insanity. And this is not a failure. This is not our failure. It's not their failure. It's simply the stage of evolution that each person is at. And everyone has to go through their own evolution when they go through it. So when we see this, the question can shift to, instead of why won't they repair, why won't they become accountable, why won't they even say sorry, to why am I making my peace of mind, my contentment in life, my joy in life depend on wherever their level of consciousness is? And if we're doing that, we're the one with the problem. So what we need to do is make letting go an act of self-love, an act of self-honoring. And the highest form of self-love or self-respect is choosing what aligns with our own dharma, our own inner truth, our own clarity, and our own soul's purpose. That's what swadharma is, our unique, specific soul purpose while we're here. So then letting go ultimately becomes an act of spiritual sovereignty. It says, I honor the truth of what happened, and I honor the pain that lives or lived inside of me. And now I also am honoring the freedom by releasing, holding on to this wound. It's not passive. It's not passivity. It's not giving away your power. It's not being submissive in any way. It's actually true power to release the grip of the wound. That's true power. Just like we wouldn't drink poison to prove a point. You don't need to hold on to resentment to convince the other person of anything. The poison only hurts the person who's drinking it. Resentment and holding on is the mind drinking the poison and waiting for someone else to hurt. That's never going to happen. So letting go is basically choosing not to drink the poison anymore. And in that, even there's a profound teaching here. Those who cause harm to others often live with an internal landscape, their heart, their mind, that's kind of like a desert. It's barren, it's defended, it's disconnected. There's not life force growing there. And they often appear strong or successful or even indifferent, but their consciousness is shaped by contraction. They're in a lot of pain. Their hearts aren't free. Some of the richest people in the world are the saddest, most defensive, and in pain, traumatized people. So to live without empathy is really its own special variety of suffering. And to be cut off from remorse is to be cut off from our soul itself. Maybe being them is punishment enough. And again, it's not because we wish any kind of suffering, but the suffering is already built into that level or lack of consciousness. So this realization for me has allowed my heart to become more compassionate, not like fluffy, sentimental compassion, but compassion that I say it has arisen from seeing that the karmic reality of the situation, because karma works itself out. That's just the laws of the universe. So in that, we can do our own healing, because our own healing doesn't really require anyone else's participation. If someone has the emotional and spiritual capacity for accountability, repair, and humility, then reconnection may be possible, but that's not your role. Your role is not to awaken them. If they don't have that capacity, that's not your business. Their journey is their journey. Your healing is your healing, and your freedom, for the most part, does not depend on their remorse or their awakening or their ability to show up at all. We can bow to the truth of what happened and offer real compassion without enmeshment and release them back to their own karmic unfolding on their own time. There's a story that I've heard a lot. It's a really cool story. So there was two yogis walking through the forest, and they got to a river where they encountered this beautiful young woman who was not able to cross the stream. And so one of the yogis just picked her up on his back and carried her across the river and put her down. And then a few hours later, his yogi friend, his guru bhai, his yogi brother, he said, what were you doing? The scriptures and our guru says we're not supposed to touch women. How could you do that? How could you disobey the guru? How could you disobey the scriptures? And the first yogi calmly said, I put her down when we crossed the river. You're still carrying her with you. So like the second yogi in the story, so many of us carry people we should have put down a long time ago. Letting go is setting them down. Letting go is setting ourselves free, not willing to carry this unnecessary burden. So the heart of all of this, the heart of this teaching, the heart of this talk, the heart of forgiveness, of letting go, forgiveness, for giving ourselves a chance to be free, for giving ourselves a chance to be loved, for giving ourselves a chance to awaken. Release them. Release the story. Release the attachment to needing to be understood. For me, it was releasing the desire for revenge. Release the longing for an apology. Release the timeline. Release the resentment. Release it all. Let them walk their path. Let Dharma take care of Dharma's business. Let karma unfold as it will, and it will. Again, karma is a universal law. Everything takes care of itself. The universe has been here for 14.5 billion years. We've been here around 300,000, maybe a little bit more. The universe kind of has a way of taking care of things. So let the karma and the dharma take care of itself. And we can do an affirmation for ourselves. You can repeat it 3 times, 9, 27. You can do a whole mala of this affirmation, but you can give yourself an affirmation. I set you free, and in doing so, I return to myself. I set you free. Doing so, I return to myself. I set you free, and in doing so, I return to myself. It can be anything. Make up your own affirmation, but it should be about letting that person or situation go and having something directed, some positive intention back to ourselves. Our greatest victory is not that they change. It's that we continue to grow, that we continue to love, that we continue to awaken in consciousness. Success and victory are in our own inner peace, in our own joy, in our own ability to thrive. And then self-love is the greatest form of healing to any harm that's ever been inflicted upon us. So again, self-love is the greatest form of healing. God can love us, that's great. The guru can love us, we have friends that can love us, but the highest form is self-love. So beautiful family, beautiful friends, beautiful listeners, love yourself. Look at what it means to let go for yourself. If you've been hurt, if you've been harmed, look what it means to let go. To let go and let God and let life go on. And if you've hurt someone and you have the awareness of that, go and take accountability for that. Yeah, I hurt you. I'm so sorry. I did that. And I've done that before. And I have these patterns and I'm working on it. And I might do it again. And I'm willing to show up and take accountability for it when I screw up because I'm a human. I'm learning. And so everyone, beautiful people, live well, love relentlessly, and as much as possible, fill our hearts with love and try to express that in everything we do. Create a beautiful life that we're proud of. The greatest act of forgiveness is to create a life we're proud of. We're giving ourselves life. We're giving ourselves to love. We're giving ourselves to the universe. That is the essence of awakened living. And that is what turns hurt into wisdom and our pain into liberation. Thank you so much for joining me. If this episode resonated with you in some way, like, subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. Share this with someone who you think may be able to benefit from it. And until next week, may every action, every thought, every word be filled with love and kindness and joy. And may we spread the light of love into the world. Namaste.